It's been said that we mustn't forget the word history contains the word story within it. So as we set out to make this latest chapter of The Mummy, we vowed to remember just that.
It's sort of a way to see what cultural vision is really all about.
To push ourselves beyond simple research.
This is one of the other sets that we had to do, one of the bigger ones. This is actually the one with the Terracotta Army.
To blend reality and fantasy.
These are pieces of the old wall left over from 2,500 years ago.
This place actually is a very valuable place, nearest ideal place for shooting near Beijing City.
And to be inspired by the great stories history has to tell.
That's the throne room up there?
This emperor is a military dictator, so his palace is much more of a fort. As long as we shoot here and there, we're good.
All with the goal of making our movie more epic.
This is the emperor's camp at the Ningxia pyramids for the opening shot. Someday there'll be 5,000 terracotta warriors out here.
More adventures.
Divide and conquer!
The action is on.
And more exciting.
We're in the middle of a wild battle at this point.
People with spears and arrows and bullets,
Charges and battle and guns and all this fun stuff.
And to take the audience on one amazing ride.
Three years ago, Steve Summers, Bob Doucet, myself, Jim Jacks had been talking about the third Mummy and what could it be.
When we decided, oh, let's do something different and fresh for the third Mummy, let's take it somewhere else, and I had this idea about doing it all in China.
I'm a history buff, and I've always been fascinated by China. I have read an enormous amount on Chinese history, even before I came into this.
The level of attention to detail of the culture were essential ideas to Rob. And frankly, I think one of the reasons that Rob was so attracted to the film.
I saw in this my chance to do a movie about China.
Like everything, we do lots of research. People think, oh, do research, but we honestly, we read everything we can. And I started reading all about the Terracotta Army.
And the idea was put on the table of the famous Xi'an warriors of China, and how cool would it be if a mummy could bring them to life, and the emperor mummy could raise an army, and of course, go out to conquer the world, which mummies seem to always have on their mind.
This emperor, I quickly thought, should be Jet Li. I think he's cool, he's handsome, he's an amazing martial artist, but he's got a great screen presence.
It's Jet Li, the man. Jet Li.
So I thought, how can I utilize that?
I love work with Rob very much, and he treated me like a brother.
He wasn't available for all the time we needed him. So I thought, well, what if Jet is the emperor? And then once he's cursed and turns into terracotta, I make Jet a terracotta CG character who talks and walks and acts like Jet, but he's made out of baked clay.
Jet Li in this movie is CG for a good portion of it. And one of the interesting things is we need to address the challenge of showing him have emotion and act while being made of a really hard material like that.
Making a CGI thing act and talk and be the essence of a real widely known actor, that's a whole new thing. The idea in this script that the terracotta warriors of Xi'an were in fact the mummies.
Most everyone that we tell that to, they go, that is a great idea, that's fantastic. I mean, there's so much mystery surrounding those. Why were they there? Why were they put there? What was the rationale behind it?
Each one was individually carved, thousands of these things, and each one is completely different.
700,000 workers for 30 years. Underneath, they found stamps of approval and signatures of teams that said they had been past the inspection.
And I thought, oh, well, they look like real people, each one. And so I thought, well, let's bring them back to life. And we do.
Wait till they come out at the double step, at the quick step with their weapons.
Oh, yeah.
They start coming up.
You couldn't ask for a source more accurate to build a screenplay around.
Are they holding?
Oh yeah, they're all holding their weapons in our version.
Using the emperor and all the terracotta warriors matched with the time where they were discovered, and so we thought, here we go.
So the beginning of the movie takes place in roughly 200 BC in China at the time of the first emperor, and then the rest of the movie is 1946.
This is all about using Chinese history in a kind of unusual way, having a lot of fun with it as we explore the true history of 200 BC and the state of affairs in China in 1946. China is on the front page of the newspaper almost every day now. It's a great place to look for a movie which has fantasy, has imagery, has history, has action up the yin-yang.
The magnificence and the grandeur that had so much to do with Rob Cohen's vision to make it bigger and better and more adventurous and more than you've ever seen.
Obviously, he had a huge palette to work with, and the movies that preceded gave a really rich background, to mine.
Using the great goodwill of The Mummy, the great characters that Steve Sommers set up, all of the good things, but to take it in a whole other direction, away from Egypt, into Asia, into the fastest growing country in the world.
Rob was very conscious of creating this era and this movie and bringing a new feeling to the making of the Mummy movies, expanding it from Egypt into Asia.
This is Yang's secret paramilitary camp, and these are Ming buildings from 200 or more years ago. We were originally going to do this as a yurt village to imply that Yang was a Mongolian from the north, but this is so much better. So it was a gift. And when you get a gift from the location god, you take it.
Even though these movies are great fantasies that take a lot of liberties with the specifics, at the same time, there is an honesty to them because we go to the place that the movie is actually supposed to take place in.
It makes your job as an actor a lot easier. You don't have to use as-ifs or use a certain sense of memory of, what you believe the thing. It just blows you away.
The acting is almost sort of secondary. You really only need to appear there.
The 200-year-old Beijing Opera Theater, that was the stage. As you can see in the Cultural Revolution, many of the ancient vintage touches here were covered up to say it's a brand new day and the past doesn't exist, but thank God the past does live on.
All history to me is political, and the Chinese history is some of the most masterful and devastating politics that ever went on.
And this will be dressed as a military headquarters, maps of the Himalayas, maps of the excavation areas where the emperor's tomb is.
There's quite a lot of Chinese craftsmanship in the movie that gives the really true flavor, more than a flavor that can be passed on from just research.
There are so many talented sculptors, designers, artists, prop makers.
It's amazing how much details they put into every single thing they do. A little piece of wood would be carved in, little tiles on the roof would be carved in, everything is lined up. You got details of dragon head on the roof, which is just for the beauty of it.
The Chinese way of building and the way they love their history. They love their country and they know their country.
They're a tightly knit community. They really work sort of like a tribe. That means something to me personally.
And of course, no building feat in Chinese history is greater than the Great Wall itself. Stretching over 4,000 miles, it's been estimated that between 2 and 3 million died as part of the centuries-long building project.
Just the very audacity to think of a project this huge, thousands of miles of it, takes your breath away.
A marvel of craftsmanship, its beauty, mystery, and mythology continued to inspire storytellers, and we were not immune to its allure.
There's an epic battle at the end of the film at the Great Wall. The terracotta warriors versus the Foundation soldiers.
They line up, and there's a huge battle between revived spirits from the wall who died building the Great Wall of China and the terracotta army that represents the forces that in fact enslaved them. It's a mythological battle.
There's clearly an intense rivalry between these two factions, sort of the good undead versus the evil undead.
One of the things that's important about the way that we've made all of our films is that we like to build really huge sets.
This is an accurate recreation of the construction process of the Great Wall of China.
And then we like to extend these sets digitally.
And digitally, we'll put in the Great Wall following what actually was a line of the Great Wall, of the old wall. They built several walls, not just the one everybody knows. And the first walls were tamped earth walls. And I believe this is part of that old wall. So it's kind of cool, karmically in a movie, that we're showing how it was done next to a section of the real wall.
We're breaking all kinds of new ground. There's all little touches and big things. The avalanches, the creatures, the Yeti that come to save them in the Himalayas. This is all cutting edge, and the craftsmanship level is brilliant. I'll tell you what, Mr. Nigel, my talented production designer, has given me my dream.
I think this is among the most thrilling moments for me. The fact that the historical thing, that the Great Wall of China is really right here, and that we're going to reconnect it.
The amount of work he's generated in the 7-8 months since we met is phenomenal. And to have it come out with this kind of quality and scope, and loving cultural detail for the true China, for the true Chinese past, as opposed to the Disneyland version of history, has been thrilling. I would like people to feel that the culture of China has been dealt with very fairly and very beautifully. But in the end, the Mummy movies are about just an escapist romp.
It's been enormously satisfying to be able to work on a franchise where so many people went on to recommend it to their friends all over the world.
I love it. I mean, you know, I love the franchise and I love the characters, and I just hope that it keeps getting better and better.
We really love these movies so much. You know, they're really meaningful to us. And to be able to bring these characters back to life has just been an absolute dream come true.
I think this movie is just a dream. You can based on some tradition, based on a little bit truth, then you create your own beliefs. You know, everybody can create something new. So evil.
Yeah. He's as evil as they get.
Don't take it too serious. Say this is the documentary about the history. Just a fun movie.
We're not trying to do an historical documentary of China. It's not a political movie.
And then when I see that, I'm going to cut the light.
Find an interesting character, a lot of surprise, you will discover yourself.
It's a combination of imagery, a very fine cast, and this element of China right at the time where I think the whole world's consciousness is turning to China. And since I've been a Sinophile for, I don't know, the last 15 years, I've been just fascinated by this country, its people, its history. So it's kind of interesting to explore all this stuff and bring it in a breathless and very innovative way, colorful way, and glamorous way, really, to the audience.